I'm Isabel,
And I'm Annabelle.
and our grade that we're going to be teaching is kindergarten.
So, our task addresses two standards, which the first one is to describe objects in the environment using names of shapes and describe the relative positions of these objects using terms such as above, below, beside, in front of, behind, and next to. Our second one states that correctly name the shapes regardless of their orientation or overall size.
And the topic of this task is to help the students learn and determine the different parts of a cube, and this entails knowing the number of faces, vertices, and edges on a cube. And hopefully by the end of the assignment, the students will find a way to answer the question, how are you going to remember different parts of a cube?
So, within the description of our lesson, we first will introduce the topic by telling the students that a cube is a very interesting object and that today in class we're going to examine it. We would ask them to think of a cube and what it looks like in their own mind. And then, once it seems that everyone has had some time to come up with their image of a cube, we will ask them to think about how many faces their cube has. Then, after that, we will ask how many vertices the cube has, and finally, ask how many edges the cube has. And then to wrap up their thinking, we will ask them to think about the conclusion they can draw about the size of the sides and the lines of the cube. We want them to come we want them to get to come to the conclusion that all the faces and edges are congruent or the same.
And then after them thinking about these questions, we will hand out a cube to all of the students so they each have their own. And then we will ask them to check on this cube to see if it has the same number of faces, edges, and vertices as the one they were thinking about. And then to wrap up the lesson, we're going to ask them to come together in a circle on the carpet and discuss the different ways that they can remember the parts of a cube.
So this is related to Math 139 because in the previous content we were studying how to identify the number of faces, vertices, and edges of any given prism, and a cube fits into that category. We were also learning about making nets of a cube and how have it does not just have one net. There are plenty of nets you can draw that will end up folding into a cube.
And then this promotes mathematical thinking because the students, like before doing anything, they first have to be able to identify and know what a cube is so that they can imagine one in their head. And then they have to be able to think about the number of faces, edges, and vertices without having a cube, and then be able to check to make sure they're correct when we give them a cube after.